Hey everybody, welcome back to Walk and Study. Today we will be going over some intermediate TOEFL vocabulary. This video is great for anyone studying for the TOEFL or anyone who wants to learn some common and important English vocabulary. As we work through these words, we will be walking on the Snowshoe Hare Trail in Golden Gate Canyon State Park. Okay, let's get started. Our first word is attitude. Attitude is a noun, and it means a set way of thinking or believing about something. Using attitude in a sentence, we could say, when faced with a problem, Yolanda maintained a positive attitude. So when confronted with a problem, Yolanda maintained a positive way of thinking. We could also say, Winston's bad attitude rubbed off on his coworkers. So Winston's bad or negative way of thinking rubbed off or transferred to the people he was working with. Our next word is concentrate. Concentrate is a verb and it has two definitions that are important for the TOEFL exam. The first definition of concentrate is to focus attention on something. Using concentrate in a sentence with this definition, we could say, Diego and Jurgen concentrated on building the biggest snowman in the neighborhood. So Diego and Jurgen focused their attention on building the biggest snowman in the neighborhood. We could also say, David and Reza distracted Rachel while she was concentrating on her algebra homework. So David and Reza distracted Rachel while she was trying to focus her attention on her algebra homework. The second definition of concentrate that is important for the TOEFL exam is to gather things or people into greater numbers. Using concentrate with this definition in a sentence, we could say, the cowboys concentrated the cows into a single field. So the cowboys gathered the cows together in greater numbers in a single field. We could also say, Italian immigrants to the United States originally concentrated in large eastern cities. So Italian immigrants to the U.S. originally gathered in greater numbers in cities in the eastern part of the country. Okay, our next word is enable. Enable is a verb, and it means to make something possible. Using enable in a sentence, we could say, immigrants have enabled America to be such a successful country. So immigrants have made it possible for America to be a successful country. We could also say, the internet enables people from all across the world to learn from each other. So the internet makes it possible for people from all across the world to learn from each other. Okay, our next word is distinct. Distinct is an adjective, and it means clearly different from something else. Using distinct in a sentence, we could say, there are over 100 distinct species of lemur living on Madagascar. So there are more than 100 species of lemur that are clearly different from one another living on the island of Madagascar. We could also say, most homes are separated into distinct rooms by walls. So most homes are separated into rooms that are clearly different from one another thanks to the presence of walls. Our next word is interpret. Interpret is a verb, and it means to figure out or explain the meaning of something. Using interpret in a sentence, we could say, the scientists tried to interpret the data from her experiment. So the scientist tried to explain the meaning of the data that resulted from her experiment. We could also say, for thousands of years, sailors have tried to interpret the weather because the weather has a large influence on where they can sail. So for thousands of years, sailors have tried to understand or figure out the weather because the weather has a large influence on where they can take their boats. Okay, our next word is precise. Precise is an adjective, and it means exact or carefully defined. Using precise in a sentence, we can say, while baking croissants, Adele and Jean-Baptiste measured out precise amounts of butter, flour, salt, sugar, yeast, and milk. So while baking croissants, Adele and Jean-Baptiste measured out exact amounts of butter, flour, sugar, yeast, and milk. We could also say, squirrels can remember the precise location of every nut they bury. So squirrels can remember the exact location of every nut they bury. Our next word is network. Network is a noun, and it means a group or system of interconnected people or things. Using network in a sentence, we could say, the earthquake in Istanbul damaged the city's subway network. So the earthquake in Istanbul damaged the city's subway system. We could also say, when looking for a new job, Samantha relied on her extensive professional network. So when looking for a new job, Samantha relied on her large system of interconnected professional contacts. Our next word is internal. Internal is an adjective, and it means found or happening inside, and that can be inside a body, organization, or other entity. Using internal in a sentence, we could say, the emergency room doctor was afraid that her patient had internal bleeding. So the emergency room doctor was afraid that her patient had bleeding that was happening inside the body. We could also say, citizens were angry when the New York Times published an internal government memo showing officials in Flint, Michigan knew the city's water was poisonous. So citizens were angry when the New York Times published a memo from inside the government that showed government officials knew the water in Flint, Michigan was unhealthy. Okay, our next word is role. Role is a noun, and it means a job, function, or position. Using role in a sentence, we could say, the role of the conductor is to direct the orchestra. So the function or job of the conductor is to direct the orchestra. We could also say, parents have many roles in their children's lives. So parents have many jobs or functions in their children's lives. Our next word is shift. Shift can be used as both a noun and a verb. When used as a noun, shift means a slight change in position or direction. Using shift as a noun in a sentence, we could say, after scientists began talking about the dangers of global warming, there was a shift in public opinion about using fossil fuels. So after scientists began talking about the dangers of global warming, there was a change in the way the public thought about fossil fuels. We could also say, after World War II, there was a shift in American foreign policy. So after World War II, there was a change in the direction of American foreign policy. Shift can also be used as a verb. When used as a verb, shift means to move something from one place to another, especially over a short distance. Using shift in a sentence, we could say, Laird shifted his weight from the front of his surfboard to the back of his surfboard. So Laird moved his weight from the front of the surfboard to the back. We could also say, Winona and Mai shifted their groceries around so they wouldn't spill on the way home. So Winona and Mai moved their groceries from one place to another in their car so they wouldn't spill on the drive home. Our next word is reside. Reside is a verb, and it means to live in a place. Using reside in a sentence, we could say, Tenzing resides in Nepal. So Tenzing lives in Nepal. We could also say, Jake and Melissa immigrated from the US and now they reside in Scotland. So Jake and Melissa moved away from the United States and now they live in Scotland. Our next word is vary. Vary is a verb and it means to be different in size, amount, or character when compared to something else in a similar group or category. Using vary in a sentence, we could say, the cafes in Istanbul vary significantly when it comes to the quality of the coffee they serve. So the cafes in Istanbul are very different when you compare the quality of the coffee they serve. We could also say, the quality of education in Massachusetts varies significantly from the quality of education in Alabama. So, generally speaking, the quality of education in the U.S. state of Massachusetts is very different from the quality of education in the U.S. state of Alabama. Okay, our last word is initial. Initial is an adjective, and it means at the beginning. Using initial in a sentence, we could say, Mao's initial plan was to go to university in Canada and then live in Australia. So Mao's plan in the beginning was to go to university in Canada and then live in Australia. We could also say, Lucy's initial opinion of James Joyce's novels was good, but the more she read of his work, the more confused she became. So Lucy's opinion of James Joyce's novels was good in the beginning, but the more she read of his writing, the more confused she became. Okay, with that, we've gone over some more intermediate and very important TOEFL vocabulary. I hope this lesson was helpful to you all. As always, subscribe below, give us a like if you found this video helpful, and let us know in the comments section what else you'd like to learn about or see in our next walk and study lesson. Thanks everyone. Take care.